this one is about group work. Hi, I'm Chuck. I'm an educator with a new job and a new commute, moving from 3 miles away from my house to about 16.2. So that's 35 miles a day about, instead of 6. So very, very roughly 5 times more time in the car this school year than I've had the last 6. And what I'm doing with it is this podcast right here. This is Drive Time Diaries. This is me on the way to work or on the way home from work, from school, coupled with some bonus episodes sprinkled in of other random drives. The main rule of Drive Time Diaries is that it happens in the car. I push record, I talk, I hit stop. Very, very, very little editing. It's record, upload to your ears. Thanks for being along for the drive today. Today we're talking about group work. I thought the last episode was going to be about group work, and inequity got in the way, and I got on a soapbox about testing scores and universal design for learning, and how it's ridiculous and unacceptable that if we look at state data and oftentimes school districts' data on state tests, if we just look at kids' skin color, that is an indicator of a predictor of how well they're going to do, and about 49% of the time they do not pass that state test, and that is just beyond a failure for our system. But today's about group work, and here's what I'm thinking about group work. I was at a professional development yesterday for teachers new to our district. They brought us together just to ask us how things were going, help us out with some more technology issues. I found out there was a thing in my grade book that I needed to get set up that I hadn't. Nobody had told me that yet. And the grades were due yesterday, so that was very timely that happened. We also spent some time looking at test scores during that time because the state results kind of came out yesterday, and individual districts are not yet allowed to share how they did. So that must have just been a state number that I have so far. But we were tasked with working in small groups. There were 4 people at my table, 3 high school teachers and a middle school teacher. And we were tasked with doing this group assignment, researching this idea of universal design for learning, which if you don't know about, it's essentially adding in lots of supports and choice for your kids to be flexible in their learning so that they can choose what works for them best so that you can reach all learners. And we were researching that and seeing how that was reflecting on how that was going to fit into our content area, and reflecting on how that works into our district vision, values, and goals, and this thing that we have called the metaphor, which is how we view education at each developmental level, from early childhood to elementary to middle school to high school. And we were supposed to do it as a group, producing a slideshow or an anchor chart or something like that, or a skit if we wanted to be really creative or something. And then the facilitator gave the out and said, if you don't want to work in the group, you can work by yourself. And immediately in my head, that clicked, let's go, I don't want to do this right now. Some of that had to do with the fact that I was really tired, and I think this is true of everyone, that collaborating and working together is tiring. Maybe for some of you out there, it's less tiring than others. But I think if I could accomplish most of a task by myself and can do it by myself, to then think about that same task in the lens of group work, collaboration, taking the idea that I like in my head and giving that to people to do with what they want and put their own ideas on top of that, and potentially maybe have something that I think is less good. All of that thinking, I would rather not. I'd just rather work harder on my own project. And when you give group work to your students in the classroom, I know we see the same thing. There's really a few group roles. One of them is the kid who, and I don't mean roles like leader, timekeeper, materials getter, classroom roles which are really important for routines and procedures. I mean like personas that kids take on in group work. And adults is what I really am proposing here. There's the I don't really want to do any of the work persona. I feel like this really happens in college. I feel like I didn't encounter this as much in K to 12, or I just don't remember that traumatization. But I feel like it happens to college students a lot, where the prof puts you into groups and there's the one student who the group can't ever get a hold of. They can't ever get that kid to go to meetings, where the group like meets at the library or somebody's house or somebody's dorm to work on it. So there's the do no work, ghosts everyone kid. And then there is the does all the work kid, because they are terrified they're not going to get the grade they want. Maybe they have control issues also. Perhaps it was like me yesterday, and it's just easier for them to do all the work than to communicate what's in their head and to potentially have a conflict when it's not the same. And then there's some people in between that are, there's the just really helpful person that maybe coordinates all the work that people are doing, doesn't have a ton of ideas for the project maybe, but will do a lot of the building of the project. And then I think there's a person that is like actually really good at group work and can lead that thinking and facilitating and thought, and also like enjoys it and also learns more because of it, all that kind of thing. But when we say the collaboration for adults and collaboration for kids and group work isn't all the same thing, and don't we as adults put on a lot of the same personas that the kids do? So I was reflecting about that yesterday. I ended up not finishing my product, quote unquote, that I needed to when I ran off to work by myself, but I was highly productive. And I think having that choice to connect to the last episode for Universal Design for Learning, having that choice to go ahead and work on that by myself, I definitely think that I learned more than I would have if I was sitting there in that group and talking through the different parts of the little product we had to make, as I overheard them talking. Now, they completed a product that arguably had more information than mine, actually, and maybe I haven't reflected on this project with them at all, the three that were in the group, but one of them might be listening to this episode. They've been in the audience at one point at least. So I do want to say, like, I know there's value for a lot of people in talking out ideas, and that group definitely did that and shared their thoughts and shared their thinking, and the way they built their slides together definitely had some worth. But I went like into full research mode and was engaging my ChatGPT to save myself some Google searching and clicking on links of resources that they had given us, and I gave it some more information about our portrait of a graduate that we have here and those skills, and took all the outputs that the AI gave me and interpreted them myself to put them on this poster. And I feel like it was a really good experience, but was I a collaborator with those people at the table? Not at all. In that moment, I did not collaborate with them. And so then I'm thinking on the broader scale about me as a worker, like, at what point are you just the jerk if you're out there trying to do everything yourself? I think that I am a really high capacity person, And I can get a lot done by myself. And I have another friend that works in another slightly related field, but not really in education, that they just try to do all the work themselves. And a lot of times they get a ton of work done, but I know also that it costs them sleep, it costs them the ability to do other things that maybe they also could be doing that would be doing their job well. And listening to them recount what they're doing, sometimes it's tiring. And as an outside perspective, you just look at it and you're like, why didn't you just share that work with someone else? And that's a thing I do to myself sometimes as a teacher. I do not naturally share the work with other people. And at what point do you do that and people just look at you like you're an idiot? That's what I don't know. But I'm seeing this outside perspective from my friend, and it's like painful to watch almost, seeing him run around and try to accomplish so much, knowing everything that he tries to do at his job, and knowing that many hands make light work, and he could be more maybe present for his family if he shared some of that load. And now I'm talking to myself also. So sometimes those of you that hate group work as adults, that want to just do all the work for yourselves, I think as an adult that looks like lesson planning, that looks like all the different things that we put together in education. This is really the only job I've ever had. So I don't know if you are not in education, what doing all the work for yourself looks like for you. What kind of Zoom meetings are mandated for you throughout the day, and whatever different like check-ins with the person in the cubicle next to you that you're required to have. But if you're a person who gets by doing it all yourself, I think people are looking at us like we're crazy. And that would be the good version. The bad version is that we're just being a-holes, I think. And yeah, that's not good. Not how I want to be known. So I'm trying to figure that out. And, this episode right here is me sorting through that so that I can present as the person who wants to be collaborative, not just say that, and figure out how I can do that. So group work, I think when we're doing it as adults, building it in for kids, I think that we are doing them a service, getting them to think through those problems and like figure themselves out and figure out how to work with people, because at the very, very least, being able to collaborate with people and have them help you, and you being able to communicate your needs and like your vision for a project so that other people can help you achieve that. That's a secret to work balance, also work-life balance, and getting a ton of stuff done professionally and also being there for your family. So I'm going to go into work now because I'm sitting in the parking lot and this episode needs to be over. And I'm going to hopefully not be the a-hole today. But thanks for listening. Again, you can find me on Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, Google podcast, Instagram at Drive Time Diary, Twitter, Chuck C. Baker. And thanks for being on this drive. I'll see you on the next one.